And right now we are joined by Austin Mayor Steve Adler. Mayor, thank you very much for joining us as always, and just came back from a busy trip to D.C. Let's talk about this past weekend in Austin, though. Biggest crowd in the history to watch UT Alabama. What goes in, as far as the city goes, to planning for 100,000+ people, and how do you think the city did on that national stage?
Well, you know, planning for big events is something that we do here pretty regularly in the city. The city staff and the community, UT, well trained for that, big events like this, and ACL Live. They drill for it. I think we looked good. Boy, they tell you the game was close. It was a heartbreaker. A couple calls go the other way. Result would have been different, but it was a real close game, and I was real proud of the students in the school.
Yeah, so you look good, I think. There, the power outage, let's talk about that at the airport last week. That police were shutting down the roads nearby. We saw a video of people literally walking to the airport with their luggage. Do we have any idea yet really what happened and what's being done to prevent it from happening again?
Well, we've asked for that. We've gotten a preliminary report back. Apparently, some of the underground generators and equipment at the airport went out in kind of the wee hours of the morning by about 4:15. A little after 7, about 85% of the power had been restored. By 8, it was all back on. But it's underground, so apparently it was harder for them to isolate or identify where the challenge was. We've asked the question you just asked. What do we have to do to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen again? We haven't heard back yet, but we expect to momentarily.
All right, we'll, of course, let the people know when we do get that answer. We talked this morning earlier about how documents were filed in court this week about a transgender middle schooler in Texas being pulled from class and questioned by DFPS without the family there. Is this something that's happening in Austin public schools, and what is your reaction to this?
You know, it's the first I've heard about that, and I think that's real unfortunate. I think that what I believe to be almost an attack on transgender kids and their families just seems wrong to me. And I don't know the details of the event that you reported on, but what you reported is real disturbing. We're trying really hard to be as safe a community as we can in this city, in Austin. And we appreciate the fact that our district attorney and our county attorney have said they're not going to prosecute crimes or alleged crimes in this area. It's a very disturbing report.
Your term up in 4 months from now. You had your final State of the City address a few weeks ago, and you said that the quote was, "The city that we leave to our children and grandchildren is one that they will be proud to call home." Now, we talked a few weeks ago about what you are most proud of in office, but what does the next mayor have to work on that has not been done yet? What would you like to see have done?
Well, I think, you know, we've made great strides on lots of things, including mobility and investments and capital infrastructure, but affordability and housing supply have got to be the two existential challenges as the city goes forward, so that we don't lose people, so we can preserve the artists and the diversity in our community. And I think that's really where the focus needs to be. In November, there's going to be a housing bond. I think it begins with voters approving that bond. But beyond that, even though we built more housing than any city in the country last year, both in absolute terms and on a per capita basis, it still wasn't enough. And that's what the city needs to focus on. Bring down the price of housing by increasing housing supply where people want to live.
And everybody does want to live here. Mayor Adler, appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much.